After last week's failure in repealing Obamacare, Republicans in Washington are hoping they get a better outcome on their next priority, tax reform. And according to a new Fox News poll, most Americans are on board with an overhaul. 55% of registered voters think that they pay too much in taxes, while 40% think that their tax bill is just about right. When asked if tax reform should happen this year, 73% said yeah, while 21% said no. So when do those 21% of the people think is the right time to make changes? And who are the 40% who think that they pay Uncle Sam just the right amount? Let me ask Brian Brenberg, Associate Professor of Economics at King's College here in New York City. I'm very perplexed by this 40% think they pay just about the right amount of taxes.
You're not in that 40%?
If you pay a dime, that's too much, but I guess therein lies the problem.
Well, you know, 45% of Americans actually don't have a federal income tax liability, so they're not paying any federal income tax. If you don't pay federal income tax, you're probably not concerned about where the rates are right now, and that helps explain some of that 40% number. But yeah, I agree. I think the other side of that is the people who do pay taxes and do care about it are probably intensely concerned about the rate of taxes that they're paying, and they want to see that come down. You don't get that intensity number in these polls.
Well, that 73% of people think the U.S. tax system should be reformed this year.
Yeah.
But reformed could mean that people who don't pay any net federal income tax actually wind up paying a little bit of something if you get rid of some of the perks and some of the handouts to industry.
Well, that's right.
And special interest.
And I think what people tend to lump a lot, when you say taxes to people, they actually lump a lot into that. And they lump some of the benefit payments that they get from the government. And so when they see a Republican in the White House and they see a Republican in Congress and they say, let's see what's going to happen to our taxes, what's going to happen to our benefits, I think they're going to be cut. I think the Republicans are going to cut spending. And so I think people have a sense that their taxes are going to go up under Trump because their benefits might be cut because of a Republican Congress or because of a Republican president.
If you look at the list of these priorities in the Fox News poll, the first one, the top one, is creating jobs, 33%, then destroying the Islamic State. Cutting taxes was third. It did get double digits at 10%, but then at the very bottom, under SCOTUS pick, was repeal and replace Obamacare. I'm like, that is cutting taxes and that is creating jobs. All three of them are intertwined.
It is, although it is interesting to see that, you know, 3 times more people want to say that job creation is the most important job of the president than cutting taxes. So I think these numbers kind of boil down this way. If you think job creation is very important and you think that cutting taxes help to create more jobs, you're going to be very in favor of cutting taxes. But there are a lot of people out there who don't buy that link. They don't think that cutting taxes is going to be the primary way we create jobs, and so they're not going to be as interested in cutting taxes. I think that's what comes out in these numbers.
And whatever happened to being worried about the national debt and the deficit, right? I mean, where does this figure into the whole equation? Because that's what conservatives at their core worry about.
And I do think that's rattling around in the back of people's minds. They know the national debt skyrocketed over the past 15 years. They know that it's going to continue to rise at an alarming rate over the next 10 years.
Really, the last 8 especially.
Especially the last 8. But even if you go back to Bush, you saw it increase pretty significantly. So I do think that's rattling around in the back of people's minds. Look, if we cut taxes but we don't do anything about spending, deficits continue to go up and debt goes way up. And that means our kids, whether they like it or not, they're going to have to pay huge tax bills, or the United States is going to have to default on a debt that it can't pay. Either way, that's a very bad outcome.
But President Trump has vowed he's not going to touch Medicare, he's not going to touch Social Security, and that is roughly half of government spending every year.
The truth is you can't really do anything about debt long term unless you do something about Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Yes, he said he's not going to touch it. They're really, you can grow all you want. You can grow faster than the United States has ever grown before. You're not going to grow out of that debt.
Do they get tax reform done, or is it just tax cuts or nothing?
I think it's neither. I think it's going to be tax cuts. They want a quick win. Tax cuts are the quick win. You do that, you get a little momentum, then you can start coming back to some of these other priorities like health care reform.
Yeah, you change corporate taxes, get a little money, spend it on infrastructure, and then the Democrats like it too, maybe.
Yeah, you might even get a little bipartisan help on the corporate tax reform. Yeah.
From your mouth to their ears. Brian, good to see you.
Good to see you,
Brian Brenberg.